Korean cinema has a knack for blending genres in a way that feels both fresh and compelling, and The Sin is no exception. This supernatural thriller takes viewers on a roller coaster ride, filled with unexpected twists and turns that keep you guessing until the very end. However, while the film delivers some truly engaging moments, it falls just short of being a standout in the genre, primarily due to its uneven execution. The Sin begins with a perplexing first 20 minutes that left me questioning whether to continue watching. The opening scenes, dominated by seemingly nonsensical dance routines on a film set, do little to establish the tone or direction of the movie. The disconnected elements feel out of place and fail to provide any clear sense of what the story is about. It's a frustrating start, and I found myself wondering if the film would ever find its footing. Just when you think you've signed up for an artsy, confusing mess, The Sin pulls the rug out from under you with the first of many unexpected twists. The movie suddenly shifts gears, transforming into a supernatural zombie flick. The film crew, trapped inside an abandoned school building, finds themselves battling for survival against a horde of zombies. This sudden change in tone is jarring but also incredibly effective, immediately pulling you back into the story. This section of the movie is where The Sin shines. The tension is palpable, and the sense of dread as the crew realizes they are being hunted by something far more sinister than zombies keeps you on the edge of your seat. However, even in these intense moments, I couldn't shake the feeling that the film could have been better with a tighter script and more focused direction. The potential is there, but it's not fully realized. As the zombie attack intensifies, the seemingly random events from the film's beginning start to make sense. The confusing dance scenes and other disjointed moments are revealed to be integral pieces of a larger puzzle. While this realization is satisfying, it also highlights one of the film's biggest weaknesses. The slow and bewildering start could have been streamlined to make the story more engaging from the get-go. Then, just as you're starting to settle into the supernatural horror, The Sin throws another curveball. The movie pivots again, this time into a hunt for an evil supernatural entity. The revelation of the entity's identity is shocking, and the motivations of those who orchestrated the zombie outbreak are equally surprising. The film plays with your expectations, ensuring that just when you think you've figured it out, there's another twist around the corner. Despite these intriguing twists, The Sin never quite reaches the heights it aspires to. The premise and plot are strong, but the execution leaves something to be desired. The first 20 minutes, spent on confusing and seemingly pointless scenes, could have been better utilized to enhance the zombie attack or the subsequent hunt for the supernatural entity. These are the parts of the story that truly captivate, yet they're given less screen time than they deserve. The film also suffers from some tonal inconsistencies. The sudden shifts between genres, arts film, supernatural horror, and psychological thriller, can feel disjointed. While the twists are effective in keeping the audience engaged, they also contribute to a sense that the movie is trying to do too much at once. With a more focused narrative, The Sin could have been a great film instead of just a good one. Unfortunately, The Sin doesn't just struggle with pacing and tone. The character development, particularly for the main protagonist, Si-young, is lacking. She spends much of the movie staring blankly into space, a choice that may have been intended to convey deep thought or fear but instead comes off as disengaged. As a horror fan, I found this lack of emotional depth disappointing. The scares are few and far between, with not a single moment that made me jump or even feel a twinge of fear. If you're expecting a full-blown horror movie, The Sin is likely to disappoint. It's more of a psychological thriller with supernatural elements than a traditional horror film. The lack of tension and scares makes it hard to recommend to fans of the genre. In fact, there were times when I found myself wondering if watching something else, anything else, might have been a better use of my time. However, The Sin does have its redeeming qualities. The concept is intriguing, and the twists, though sometimes overwhelming, keep the audience invested in the story. The film's exploration of shamanic rituals and the supernatural is genuinely fascinating, and there are moments when the cinematography shines, particularly in the scenes that blur the line between reality and the otherworldly. Seong's final act of defiance, where she uses her powers to escape the trap set by her so-called friend, is a highlight. It's a thrilling moment that showcases the film's potential for blending psychological drama with supernatural horror. But even this climactic scene is somewhat overshadowed by the film's earlier missteps. In the end, The Sin is a film that's worth watching, but with some caveats. It's a movie with a strong premise that's hampered by uneven execution and pacing issues. The twists are engaging, and the story has enough depth to keep you interested, but the film never fully capitalizes on its potential. If you go in with tempered expectations, you might find The Sin to be an enjoyable, if flawed, experience. It's not the next great horror movie, but it has enough going for it to make it worth a watch. Just don't expect it to leave a lasting impression. As the credits rolled, I found myself wishing the film had focused more on its strengths and less on its confusing opening. With a tighter script and a more consistent tone, The Sin could have been a standout in the genre. Instead, it's a movie that's easy to watch but just as easy to forget. Ultimately, The Sin is a film that will leave you with mixed feelings. It's a movie that shows flashes of brilliance but is held back by its own shortcomings. The story has potential, and there are moments where you can see what the film could have been with a more polished script and direction. Yet, it's also a movie that frustrates, because you can't help but think of what it might have been with a bit more focus and refinement. Would I recommend it? Yes, but with reservations. If you're a fan of supernatural thrillers and don't mind a film that takes a while to find its footing, then The Sin is worth a watch. Just be prepared for a few confusing moments along the way. It's a film that might not fully satisfy, but it will certainly leave you thinking about the story and its twists long after the credits roll. So, here's the question I'll leave you with: what makes a horror movie truly unforgettable? Is it the scares, the story, or the way it all comes together? The Sin might not have all the answers, but it certainly raises some interesting points to ponder as you weigh whether or not to give it a go.